You're listening to the Live Free podcast. I'm your host, Christine, certified life coach, pain to power mentor, and creator of Embody You Mindset Mastery School. I'm here today to discuss living life after disease, disaster, or adversity, to discuss living life fully once again, a life of hope, peace, and resiliency, a life fully embodied. I utilize the lessons that I learned going through not one, but two primary cancers. I'm here today to guide you to the life of your dreams, turn your pain into power, and lead you back to yourself. Welcome to episode 3. This episode is on discomfort. So I'm starting off with the big guns. The age-old, I'm not happy, this sucks, this is difficult. That's what we're starting with. And what does that mean? So we've all heard how you are meant to, get through discomfort by through it as opposed to around it. We've all been told a million times, you have to feel and that sort of thing. And I understand and appreciate that, but I don't think I knew it until I was forced into discomfort in such a way that was earth-shattering. And that's when I started to realize that there were so many tendencies in myself to avoid it, to get around it. And I think that today's society, we unfortunately have an opportunity to move into discomfort, but we're not supported to do so. Today's society, we're all talking about like positivity and law of attraction and the ways to get good things in your life is to always be grateful and all of those sorts of things. And I agree with all of that. But what they fail to mention, or for myself anyway, in my interpretation of it, what they fail to mention is that you have to feel the tough stuff too. You have to let that emotion sink in. You have to move through it. You have to be negative at times. You have to be, bad at times. I use my air quotes there, bad. And you have to let yourself settle into it. And that's something that I was not comfortable with, not at all. Like I was always a, positivity junkie and everything like that. People nicknamed me Peppy because I was always so peppy. And that was great, except for every single time something was difficult in my life, even prior to cancer, every single time something was difficult, I kind of bypassed it. There's a lesson in this for me. There's something beautiful. There's a silver lining and all of those sorts of things. And while all of that was true, it was sort of a bypass. My counselor calls it a spiritual bypass. And that's exactly what it was. I just avoided feeling anything negative by skipping over it and going straight to the positivity. And as I've explained in previous videos with my Instagram and those sorts of things, is avoiding discomfort is like spraying bleach on something that is trying to decay. Now, that decay is still putrid. It's still, rotting. It's still all of those things, except for now you've slowed down exactly what it was trying to do, which was decay. It was trying to get to the other side and become nutrient dense. And spraying that bleach can be examples of, Facebook spiraling. It could be examples of shopping. It could be examples of cleaning your house. These are just some like basic examples that a lot of people do kind of in their daily life. There are more extreme examples as well, drinking alcohol, drugs, sex, things like that. But, there's also just kind of basic stuff that we do to avoid feeling. And we're all so uncomfortable with just being alone with our own thoughts. And what I'm finding is that this is a vicious cycle. Avoid, be happy, avoid, be happy. And you know what? Life is not meant to be happy all the time. We have these clear boundaries of like, okay, so, this is good. This is a good emotion and this is a bad emotion. And the fact of the matter is that I think that was framed incorrectly. The good emotions feel great and the bad emotions feel bad. Now, is that because of our interpretations that they feel bad, or is that because they are bad? And, I'm here to say that I think that it's interpretations. I think our interpretations of what is bad is the reason that it feels so bad. Am I saying that you should be stuck all the time in, that side of the spectrum of maybe a lower vibration? Absolutely not. But it can teach you something if you're willing to feel it, if you're willing to sit with it. And I'm not talking about sitting with it for, a week, 2 weeks, a month, a year. That's not what I'm talking about. Although some things do demand more time. Generally speaking, sitting with it can take an evening. It can take 2 days maximum. Your timeline is going to be for you. It's going to be your interpretation of what you need. But, some things are going to be 30 seconds if you would just feel it, and we all do not feel it. And it's so important to do so. So talking about discomfort, when I found out that everything was happening, my first knee-jerk reaction was to run. Run hard and fast from the discomfort of it all. And that's so natural and so normal to want to run from the discomfort. But I'm telling you that this is a folly. It is not going to benefit you to run from discomfort. I was incorrect on this for years and years, just bypass it. And nope, that's not the way, guys. I'm sorry. You gotta feel it. You gotta let that happen. And, what do I mean by feel? What I mean by feel is not, is not complaining. It's not venting, although it can look that way. More so what I mean, again, this is my interpretation, and you're going to find this is a theme throughout the entire journey, is that your interpretations and my interpretations of things are going to be different because we're all living within our context. But anyway, what I mean to say is to sink in, okay? So like, say you've got an emotion of, well, I'll give you an example of one of mine. So fear of toxicity was huge for me. Prior to my cancer journey, I was super organic, super non-GMOs. I would bring my own ingredients to people's houses. I wouldn't go for dinner, those sorts of things. Like, this was a time in my life where I was very, very strict. And, supplements are all the way, and medications and the medical system are the devil, and all of these different things, all these different interpretations that I had. And when they told me that I need to do chemo, well, I mean, they gave me the choice, of course, but, kind of the choice with the lining of, yeah, but if you don't, you'll probably die. So here I am, making the decision to do chemo, someone who is non-toxic all the way. And when they told me that I have to do chemo, I tell you, I tried to bypass that. I tried to bypass it 100 times over, this is, healing elixir, and that's what this is doing. And, and all of these sorts of things. And I tried so hard to just reframe it so that I would feel better about the whole, industry of it. And for 5 straight months, me trying to reframe it, every single time I went in for chemo, I just felt like this, this chemical ridden, thing walking around, this, you know, fighting who I am, my values, my beliefs, everything like that. It just felt so misaligned. And you'd think that I'm here to tell you that, uh, that being misaligned means that you just have to reframe it and find the positive and the silver lining in it. That is not what I'm here to tell you. What I'm here to tell you is that it was okay that I felt chemical ridden. It was okay that I wasn't okay with it. And if I would have just sat in it for 5 stinking minutes, then chances are I could have been more okay with it after that and been able to reframe it in a way that didn't feel quite so like a tug of war in my mind. Because here I am trying to tell myself, this is okay, this is okay, this is okay, all the while knowing that I don't feel okay with this. And so what I'm using this example for is to help reframe for you that if you just settle into the fact that you are unhappy about something for 5 friggin' minutes, maybe you can create a new alignment and a new story that feels expansive to you. But if you just keep avoiding it and keep going, oh no, this is beautiful. Life is beautiful. That you're going to be stuck in it forever. And I'm telling you now, like, there's a lot of things that I think are up for interpretation, and this is not one of them. If you've got something going on in your life that's difficult, you got to feel it. And maybe it's really difficult, and for that reason, you need professional help or a friend, or it could take months or years, or you may need aid of some kind. That's not like, if it's extreme trauma, I'm not saying like right now, this instant, that you should sit down and go through your extreme trauma completely alone in your house without any help. That's not what I'm saying. What I am in fact saying, however, is that these little minor traumas, these little things that happen, my kids did this and I'm unhappy about it. Recognize that. Recognize, like, hey, I'm unhappy about it. And then after you've recognized it, then sit in it. Where does that feel in my body? Does it have a texture? Does it have a shape? Does it have a color? Can I recognize that? And only then, once you've settled into that emotion, can you start to reframe it in a way that is going to serve you, right? So let's do an exercise, okay? So think of something that bothered you in the last 24 hours. We're not going to tackle something like a huge life situation right now. But, think of something that bothered you within the last 24 hours. Okay? 24, 48 hours, somewhere in there. Now, have you got it? Something simple. You don't have to be over the top with it. It could be something as simple as, my coffee maker didn't make me proper coffee. Whatever. Now, we could reframe that. We could say that, well, I didn't get the proper coffee, but it's given me a new lease on cappuccinos, right? And yeah, maybe that would serve you. But imagine the emotion that you had when you blank, didn't have your cup of coffee quite right. Now, where in your body did you feel that? Did it feel like heat in your throat? Did it feel like a pit in your stomach? How could you describe that emotion? Now close your eyes and imagine that emotion, that pit. Does it have a shape? And what I mean by that is the pit is going to have an emotion behind it. It's going to have something, it feels round and compact and tight, or it feels sharp and crowded in the area. What does that feel like? And once you have that, could you give it a texture? Does it feel lumpy, bumpy, smooth, hard, cold? What does it feel like there? And when you start to feel that emotion and you start to see it as a shape, maybe as a color, maybe as a texture, now you are in your body. Now you are feeling it more deeply, with more understanding. And can you see now that once you've given it these qualities, that's all it is? It isn't this grandeur, bad emotion that you should run from. It is instead just another piece of you. And for me, what is very cathartic for me is to take that shape, that structure, that feeling, and to transmute it. And for me, that can be anything from, visualizing, changing it from, this sharp, lumpy, bumpy thing into something useful, like, oh, that sharp, lumpy, bumpy thing worked really well to mulch my garden, or whatever works for you. I like to transmute it, and usually through visualization. But that is 100% up to you, however that works for you. But to end this exercise, being able to see it as something that is just part of you as opposed to bad, these labels that we have of good and bad, you can start to see that, every part of your day is a series of emotions. High emotions, low emotions, high emotions, low emotions. And I'm not giving, the low emotions a bad connotation and the high emotions a good connotation. I'm saying they just is. They just are. Everything just is. And it's all part of your day. And imagine, what could it look like if, your day wasn't a series of like, oh, I don't want to do that, followed by, oh, but I want to do that. What if all of it could just be what it is? I don't like this emotion, and I'm going to settle into that. Followed by, oh, I really like this emotion, followed by, like one thing after another. To me, that sounds really freeing, don't you? So this is why we do the work. To unbreak our own shackles. To take the key and take off the shackles that we put on ourselves with this idea of good and bad emotions, things that you can and cannot feel. Just cut the shit. It's all just emotions, and they're all okay. And imagine what it would be like if you didn't create this drama story all the time of like, oh, this is so bad, and all of those sorts of things, so I'm going to avoid it. But instead was like, oh, there's an emotion here. There's an emotion here that I need to feel into. And once I've done that, then I can move on to the next thing. Wouldn't that be beautiful? I think that the reason that we get stuck in our stuff and that we can become, very dramatic about our stuff, which is an interpretation also. I think the reason that we do that we become that is because, again, we have this sort of like, oh, bad me, bad me for having this emotion, and oh, good me for reframing that, I think that, we're starting to see that, you're not this child to be scolded. You're a human being, and human beings have ups and they have downs, and neither is good nor bad. It is just is. So this is the work. So I wanted to start with the big guns because I tell you, discomfort, you're gonna get it through all of your life. You've done it, you've had it up till now, and you're gonna have it again. And everything I went through was uncomfortable, extremely uncomfortable, and I'm not even totally out of it yet. Like, I've still got tests and things, and then they're going to tell me, oh, well, you're technically in remission, but like it could come back, and that's going to be more discomfort that I have to work with, right? And yeah, like that, when I say discomfort I have to work with, I mean discomfort that I have to settle into, discomfort that I have to be okay with not being okay when I'm not okay, and then be okay with it being just what it is when I'm feeling better. It's holding it as you would a child, who was having, and I mean a young child, because we start to put these conditional loves on our children at about, 4 or 5, when, they're lashing out now. But prior to that, really young child, like maybe even a baby, when they cry, do we say to them like, oh, you shouldn't feel those emotions. You should not feel those emotions. Come on, get yourself together. No, you just say, oh, there's something going on that needs attention. Why can't we have something that's going on that needs attention? It seems so simple. But, it seems so simple when I say it now, and it seems so simple when you hear it. But then the emotion comes up, and what's the first thing you do? You run, or you shame yourself. So this is the work. I wish you all the best, and I hope that you have an amazing day. And just know that life is for you, not to you. And go out there and live more free. So much love to you all. Bye.
Thank you so much for listening. If you found expansion with this last episode, then that means that others will too. And the best way to get the word out about the podcast is by leaving a review. I would be so grateful if you could leave me a review and let me know how you felt about the podcast. Included in the show notes will be everything that we talked about today, including all of my transformative programs. Change is just on the horizon, my friend.